There are moments when you speak about money and feel a subtle tightness in your chest, almost invisible, but persistent. It's as if every word carries an unseen weight, an ancient echo that doesn't entirely belong to you. Maybe you've never stopped to notice, but the phrases that leave your mouth are vibrational seeds, and some of them are programmed to keep you exactly where you are, between hope and fear, between the desire to prosper and the habit of surviving. The mind repeats what the body remembers, and the body remembers what the heart is afraid to forget. When you say, "I don't have money," the universe doesn't hear a complaint. It hears an instruction, and it obeys. This is the hidden pain of many who are spiritually awakened, yet still trapped in emotional and financial scarcity. People who meditate, who affirm, who express gratitude. And yet, something within them continues to vibrate fear. The fear of not having. The fear of losing. The fear of believing again. They are sincere seekers, but tired ones, silently asking, why is it that even with everything I know about energy and manifestation, abundance still feels distant from me? That question, tender, painful, echoing, is where our journey begins. Bruce Lipton reminds us that the words we use are not just sounds. They are inherited genetic and energetic programs. When you repeat a phrase, the subconscious translates it as a biological command. It doesn't interpret, it executes. Your DNA is literal. Your cells are always listening, even when you pretend you've stopped believing. That's why it's possible to manifest poverty unconsciously, not from a lack of faith, but from an excess of vibrational repetition. Every "I can't," "it's hard," "it's not for me," becomes a line of code your body stores and replays, even as you try to think positive thoughts. Modern spiritual science explains that the subconscious functions like a quantum recorder. It doesn't distinguish imagination from reality, only vibration. Joe Dispenza calls this electromagnetic coherence, the point where what you think and what you feel vibrate as one. Every phrase you speak is an energetic signature, a frequency the field decodes as command. The universe doesn't understand maybe or someday. It understands what's spoken with emotion, and that's where the paradox lies. Because while the mind declares abundance, the heart still whispers scarcity. Imagine for a moment that your tongue were a genetic key. Each word a code capable of activating or deactivating portals of energy within your own body. When you speak, you program your cells, instruct your emotions, redraw your frequency. It's an alchemy that occurs in the unseen, yet shapes everything you can see. Abundance isn't something you attract. It's something you allow through vibrational coherence between what you say, what you feel, and what you believe. So, this isn't a video about superstition or avoiding words out of fear of bad luck. It's about vibrational hygiene, understanding that the word is energy, and energy is matter in the process of creation. To stop saying certain phrases isn't an act of control, it's an act of self-love. It's like cleaning the mirror where your consciousness reflects itself. Because as long as you keep repeating what fear taught you, the universe will keep responding with what fear requests. The invitation is simple, yet profound. Observe what you say when you speak about money. Observe the tone, the emotion, the sensation in your body. Every word is a reflection of what still vibrates within you. And when you begin to notice that, something inside you changes, silently, like the birth of a new sound. Because before you can transform your reality, you must first transform the language with which you speak to the universe. And sometimes, the first step isn't to affirm the new, it's to quiet the old. There are phrases that sound harmless, yet carry a vibration that paralyzes. I don't have money. It's hard. It's not for me. They leave the mouth effortlessly, as if they were mere statements. But on a vibrational level, they operate as energetic commands. Each time they're repeated, the subconscious records lack, limitation, impossibility. Bruce Lipton explains that the subconscious is literal. It doesn't argue, it doesn't question, it obeys, and it obeys with biological precision. It's as if every cell in your body receives the instruction to remain tuned to the frequency of scarcity, creating a cycle renewed with every word spoken. The human mind functions like a sensitive software. Everything you say, it interprets as code. Everything you feel while saying it, it transforms into vibration. Imagine a programmer who unknowingly keeps typing the same lines of command, expecting a different result. That's what many do when they talk about money. They desire abundance, but keep writing the same scarcity code. I can't right now. Maybe someday. It's not for me. And the energetic field faithfully mirrors the program it receives. Joe Dispenza teaches that every emotion infused with attention becomes a vibrational signature. What you speak with emotion generates a field around your body. That field isn't metaphorical, it's electromagnetic. It attracts realities that resonate with the frequency you emit. So when your words become complaints, life begins to echo scarcity, not as punishment, but as reflection. The universe isn't judging your words, it's simply reflecting the energetic tone you've chosen to express. The insight is simple yet transformative. Changing your vocabulary is rewriting your energetic program. When you begin replacing phrases of limitation with statements of neutrality or expansion, your subconscious starts to update the code. The body feels differently. The field responds differently, and life begins to unfold in alignment with that new frequency. It's not about repeating positive phrases without emotion. It's about giving your words the same vibrational weight as your faith. The sentences you speak every day are like unconscious mantras. Some open doors, others close them quietly, without your awareness. Linguistic scarcity is the most disguised virus there is. It hides behind realism, behind venting, behind truth. But each time it's spoken, it reinforces the belief that abundance is far away. True healing begins when you realize that the vocabulary of scarcity doesn't describe reality, it creates it. Money does not respond to the force of the mind, but to the frequency of the body. You can repeat affirmations for hours, visualize abundance, write gratitude lists, and still, nothing seems to flow. That's because the energetic field doesn't respond to what you think. It responds to what you vibrate. Joe Dispenza explains that coherence between the heart and the brain is the state in which human energy becomes magnetic, capable of attracting realities that match it. When there is coherence, there is flow. When there is dissonance, there is blockage. And that blockage isn't external. It's in the invisible microtensions of the body. The tightness in the chest, the clenched jaw, the silent fear that shadows every financial decision. The body is a vibrational translator. It feels before it understands. It reacts before it thinks. When you say, "I can't," the body immediately contracts. The breath shortens, the solar plexus tightens, the magnetic field shrinks. The universe reads that not as refusal, but as instruction. Reduce energy, restrict flow. The vibration of fear is subtle but powerful. It's the same frequency that activates survival mode, and in that state, the body doesn't create, it merely protects. That's why so many try to manifest abundance and feel as though they're pushing against the world, because their field is trying to protect what already exists instead of expanding into the new. Bruce Lipton reminds us that the subconscious is embodied. It lives in the muscles, the heartbeat, the breath. The whole body is a living antenna, constantly tuning to the frequency of the emotions you repeat daily. When fear becomes routine, the body adapts to scarcity. When trust is practiced, the body learns to relax into flow. The energetic field responds instantly to that coherence. There is no delay, no distance. It's the now, vibrating. Joe Dispenza calls this the electromagnetic signature of being. Every thought combined with an emotion emits a frequency that informs the field of what you are ready to receive. The body does not lie. It reveals what the unconscious still believes. If the body vibrates fear, the field attracts experiences that confirm fear. If the body vibrates gratitude, the field mirrors it with experiences that sustain abundance. There is no morality in this, only vibrational correspondence. Money, then, is not a goal but a reflection. It manifests in direct proportion to how safe the body feels to receive it. A tense body repels flow, just as a closed hand cannot hold water. The energy of prosperity requires softness, not force. And softness arises when the body learns to trust again, when it breathes, when it feels, when it opens. The field doesn't read intentions, it reads vibrations. And vibration is born in the body long before it reaches the mind. Some people repeat phrases like, "I'm poor but honest," "Money isn't everything," "I'd rather have peace than wealth," believing they are choosing spiritual integrity. But what they are really doing is attaching guilt to prosperity. Without realizing it, they turn scarcity into identity, as if being simple must mean being limited. Bruce Lipton explains that beliefs inherited from childhood shape both genetic expression and the sense of worthiness. When you grow up hearing that money corrupts or that wealth is selfish, the subconscious records that as a biological truth. Even when your conscious mind wants abundance, your body still obeys the inherited belief. It's safer to have little. These phrases are like invisible tattoos etched into cellular memory. They travel through generations, not only through words but through the emotions that accompany them. You can change homes, countries, or professions, but if the belief still vibrates within you, your energetic field will continue to project the same frequency of limitation. That's why so many people experience the paradox of opportunity alongside self-sabotage, because, at the subconscious level, to prosper feels like betraying family, origin, or even spirituality itself. Joe Dispenza teaches that the body becomes the reflection of the past when the mind lives in coherence with old programs. Each time you repeat a phrase of scarcity, you reinforce ancient neural pathways. The body feels familiarity and calls it truth. But it's not truth, it's emotional habit. And emotional habits are simply repetitions of energy. When you begin to recognize that attachment to scarcity is not virtue but fear disguised as humility, something within begins to shift. Genetics do not define reality. Belief does. Bruce Lipton has shown that cells respond to their energetic environment, and that environment is shaped by what you believe yourself to be. If you believe prosperity threatens your essence, your body activates genes of protection. But when you believe abundance is a natural extension of love, your body activates genes of growth. The key is realizing that there is no conflict between spirituality and prosperity. The only conflict lies in the old story the subconscious keeps repeating. Revisiting the phrases inherited from childhood is an act of quiet liberation. Words that once carried truth for your family can now be rewritten with awareness. What once meant guilt can now mean permission. What once meant fear can now mean faith. Scarcity is not identity. It is merely a vibration you can choose to transform. And that transformation begins when you stop defining yourself by what you fear to lose and start defining yourself by what you are finally ready to receive. There is an invisible chemistry behind the act of complaining. Each time you speak about what's missing, your brain releases small doses of dopamine, the same neurotransmitter responsible for pleasure in moments of achievement. It's subtle, almost comforting. For a moment, you feel relief, as if your pain had been acknowledged. But that relief is deceptive. Bruce Lipton and Joe Dispenza explain that the body is a system of chemical memories. Every repeated emotion creates a circuit, and the circuit of complaint is one of the most addictive because it merges pain and pleasure in a single experience. When you complain, your body feels alive, even if through drama. Joe Dispenza teaches that the body becomes addicted to familiar emotions, even negative ones. It's as if the cells need to feel what's known in order to feel safe. So the habit of complaining isn't merely emotional, it's biological. Each phrase of dissatisfaction reinforces the chemical conditioning of scarcity. The mind believes it's simply venting, but the body is reinforcing the addiction. That's why many people claim to desire prosperity, but unconsciously seek situations that allow them to repeat the same story of struggle. They're not seeking pain. They're seeking the familiar chemistry of pain. The addiction to complaint is subtle. It manifests in daily conversations, in casual remarks, in automatic gestures. Complaining becomes an unconscious way to belong, because sharing pain feels easier than sustaining joy. Within groups, the energy of scarcity spreads like electricity, connecting people through what they lack, not through what flows. The mind calls it connection, but vibrationally, it's a pact of limitation. The body feeds on that familiarity, feeling the same brief chemical reward each time the story of lack is told again. There comes a moment when the soul grows weary of repetition. A spiritual fatigue emerges that is not just exhaustion. It's the body's call for a new chemical pattern. Joe Dispenza describes this as the vibrational turning point, the moment when the nervous system realizes that the old frequency no longer supports the new awareness. Then, silence becomes more nourishing than complaint. The body starts to crave a different kind of pleasure, the pleasure of peace. The neurochemistry of gratitude gradually replaces the dopamine of drama. To complain, at its core, is to seek relief without transformation. But relief is not healing. It's an intermission. True liberation begins when you stop feeding the chemical cycle of scarcity and choose the vibration of serenity instead. Not by denying pain, but through energetic maturity. Because there comes a time when the soul understands there is nothing left to prove to suffering, and silence becomes the new sound of abundance. Many people affirm prosperity, repeat abundance phrases, write intentions, and still see no visible change. They believe they lack faith, discipline, or worthiness. But in truth, what's missing is vibrational coherence. Joe Dispenza explains that coherence is the alignment between emotion and thought, when what you think, what you feel, and what you emit vibrate in the same direction. When the mind declares, "I am prosperous," but the heart still vibrates fear, energy doesn't expand, it divides. The quantum field doesn't respond to spoken words, it responds to the vibrational state of the speaker. Bruce Lipton deepens this understanding by showing that DNA is sensitive to emotional frequency. Words alone do not change biology, the emotion behind them does. When the word is empty, the field remains still. When it's felt, the entire body becomes a broadcasting antenna. That's why saying "I am abundant" without feeling abundance is like trying to tune into a radio station while still on the wrong frequency. The sound doesn't come through, the signal distorts, and the message never finds its destination. The universe doesn't read requests, it reads emissions. Every coherent emotion is a vibrational code that informs the field what is ready to manifest. Desire without coherence is like lighting a candle in the wind. The flame appears, but it doesn't last. When thought and feeling are aligned, however, the field organizes instantly. Joe Dispenza calls this the moment of conscious creation, the point at which body and mind stop being observers and become extensions of the universe itself. Coherence isn't effort, it's presence. It's not about forcing a positive emotion, but allowing the heart and mind to meet in the same stillness. When coherence exists, the body feels peace even before the result appears. And it's precisely that peace, that neutral, trusting state, that opens the space for manifestation. Bruce Lipton explains that in this state, growth genes are activated and vital energy flows without resistance. Imagine every word you speak as a sound frequency and your body as the instrument emitting it. If the instrument is out of tune, the sound won't reach clarity. But when emotion and thought align, the vibration becomes pure, whole, magnetic. It is not desire that creates abundance, it is coherence that sustains it. The field responds to harmony, not to pleading. And harmony begins when you stop trying to convince the universe that you deserve and start vibrating as someone who already belongs. There is a silent archetype many carry without realizing it: the spiritual beggar. It is the inner figure of someone who prays, asks, pleads with the universe, but rarely feels worthy to receive. This pattern is born from the childlike belief that asking is safer than possessing, that desiring too much is dangerous, that receiving may bring guilt. It's an emotional program that confuses humility with renunciation. Bruce Lipton teaches that unconscious beliefs shape genetic expression and therefore determine what the body allows or blocks in experience. When the subconscious associates receiving with risk, the energetic field contracts. The flow of abundance stops not because the universe denies it, but because the vibration of worthiness is inactive. Joe Dispenza describes the electromagnetic field as a reflection of consciousness. Asking from misalignment is to vibrate lack. When a request arises from fear, the vibration it carries is one of absence. The universe doesn't hear the words of the prayer, but the tone of vibration beneath them. So when someone says, "Please help me," but inwardly feels, "I don't have," the field responds to the second message. It is the vibrational beggar speaking louder than the conscious creator. This archetype is common among sincere seekers. They study, they pray, they wish to serve, yet unconsciously perpetuate scarcity because they associate it with spiritual purity. They believe that to possess is to drift from essence, that to prosper is to betray the soul's path. But the true spiritual master does not ask. He manifests. He does not search outside for what he knows is an expression of his own inner being. He understands that abundance is not a reward. It is nature itself. Bruce Lipton describes the body as an instrument that responds to vibrational environment. If the inner atmosphere is scarcity, the body generates signals of contraction, low vitality, fear, withdrawal. If the atmosphere is trust, the body expands, the heart opens, and the entire system synchronizes with the field. The archetype of the spiritual beggar is, therefore, a reflection of incoherence between faith and frequency. Faith asks, frequency allows. The symbolic insight is profound. Scarcity can be an unconscious way to maintain control. As long as you are asking, you remain the author of the request. But when you allow yourself to receive, you must surrender. And that surrender, soft, vulnerable, trusting, dissolves the beggar archetype and activates the archetype of the channel. For the soul did not come to beg for light. It came to remember that it is light. To receive, then, is simply to let the divine flow move through you without resistance, without fear, without guilt. There is a phrase that seems harmless, but carries one of the greatest vibrational traps. Someday, I will be prosperous. It holds the promise of the future, yet the quantum field doesn't understand future. It responds only to the now. Joe Dispenza teaches that linear time is a mental construct, created to organize experience, but the energetic field responds solely to the vibration of the present moment. So when you say someday, you're telling the universe that prosperity does not yet exist. You are vibrating absence, not presence. Bruce Lipton explains that cells respond only to their immediate environment. The body feels what the field emits now, not what the mind imagines for later. This gap between desire and vibration keeps many people trapped in a cycle of waiting. They believe they are manifesting the future, but they are merely reinforcing the not yet. The body lives in expectation, and the field interprets that expectation as lack. The vibration of not yet is subtle but powerful because it perpetuates the postponement of abundance. It creates an emotional timeline in which tomorrow becomes a refuge and the present becomes a cage. Joe Dispenza reminds us that the field responds to the emotional state of being, not to mental intention. As long as emotion is tuned to someday, the field will continue to vibrate that frequency. The result is a life perpetually on the verge, always almost, always about to flourish. It's abundance suspended in air, waiting for a body that never feels it as real. To the universe, someday is the same as never, because in quantum reality, there is only one time, now. Bruce Lipton demonstrates that when the body feels something as real, DNA adjusts to that perception, activating biological responses of expansion. But when it feels something as distant, it activates genes of waiting, defense, and energy conservation. The body lives what it believes. If it believes abundance is yet to come, it remains in reserve, not in flow. And the field, ever obedient, mirrors the same vibrational state. The shift begins when someday transforms into I vibrate it now. When the phrase changes, the frequency changes. It's not about pretending abundance that doesn't exist. It's about allowing yourself to feel the vibration of fullness as if it were already part of you. Because in the quantum field, there is no future to reach, only frequencies to inhabit. The I already am becomes the portal that dissolves the distance between desire and manifestation. It is the moment when the soul understands that tomorrow is nothing more than a reflection of what the body decides to vibrate today. Many call realism what is in truth fear in disguise. I'm just being realistic, they say, while the heart vibrates in containment. Prudence, when born from wisdom, is an ally, but when born from fear, it becomes an energetic prison. Bruce Lipton explains that fear activates genes of survival and deactivates those of growth. This means that when you act under the guise of common sense motivated by fear, the body enters defense mode and the energetic field contracts. Energy ceases to flow because the whole system prepares to avoid risk, and in that state, expansion becomes impossible. Joe Dispenza describes fear as one of the densest frequencies in the human field. It creates coherence only with what the body is trying to avoid. In other words, fear is magnetic, but in reverse, it attracts what you fear, not what you desire. Fear disguised as prudence is even more dangerous because it appears rational, and rationality is persuasive. It hides in subtle phrases. It's not the right time. I need to think more. Maybe later. But on an energetic level, each of these sentences communicates a silent message to the universe. I don't trust yet. Bruce Lipton teaches that biology responds to perception, not to facts. If you perceive the world as unsafe, the body reacts as if it were in real danger. Blood moves to the extremities, the heart rate changes, and the systems of regeneration and growth shut down. It is a natural state for survival, but devastating for creation. Prudence rooted in fear is a defense mode that robs the body of its ability to expand. And the universe, faithful to the field, mirrors that same contraction. Joe Dispenza explains that energetic flow activates only when the body vibrates in trust. Faith is not the absence of doubt, but the willingness to remain in motion despite it. When you breathe through fear instead of fleeing from it, the field shifts. Breathing becomes a quantum gesture of reprogramming, the instant when mind and body realign with the present, where danger does not exist, only presence. In that state, energy reopens, and the field recognizes the system as return to creation. Fear is a legitimate energy, but it was meant to alert, not to lead. When it disguises itself as prudence, the natural flow of life becomes too calculated to remain alive. Growth requires risk, not reckless risk, but the vibrational risk of believing again. Bruce Lipton calls this micro-acts of faith, small daily gestures that challenge the program of protection and teach the body to trust again. It is in that space that abundance begins to flow. Not when fear disappears, but when you stop shaping your frequency around it. There is a silent power few ever notice, the space between words. Silence is not the absence of sound, but the presence of pure energy. It is the quantum interval where vibration reorganizes before becoming form. Joe Dispenza explains that the electromagnetic field does not respond merely to what is spoken, but to the coherence that exists within the pauses, the microspaces of awareness where thought ceases and being reveals itself. Bruce Lipton expands on this, affirming that DNA responds to the emotional environment of the body, and silence is the most neutral, receptive state of that environment. It is within it that biology aligns with energy, and energy aligns with creation. Silence is a form of vibrational communication with the universe. While words construct, silence integrates. It allows the energy of intention to stabilize within the field. When the body and mind remain still, natural coherence is restored. The heart, freed from mental noise, resumes its rhythmic harmony with the field. Joe Dispenza calls this the point of resonance, a state in which consciousness merges with the surrounding space, and the field recognizes that union as a signal of completed creation. Often, inner noise is the true blockage to abundance. Repetitive thoughts, mental justifications, worries disguised as reasoning. All these inner sounds prevent the vibration of being from stabilizing. Silence is not a denial of thought, but a return to the center. It is within silence that intentions gain density, vibration crystallizes, and the field finds a steady point of reading. Bruce Lipton affirms that the body interprets deep silence as a signal of safety, activating genes of repair and regeneration. The same body that once vibrated tension begins to emit frequencies of trust and expansion. On a symbolic level, silence is the place where the word returns to its source. It is the space between one thought and another, between a desire and its manifestation. Within it, the self stops giving commands and begins to listen. And in that listening, creation occurs, because the field responds more to what is felt than to what is said. Joe Dispenza teaches that in silence, the body and the field exchange information directly, without interference from the analytical mind. It is there that the quantum collapse occurs, the moment when the possible becomes real. Silence, therefore, is not the absence of action, but a vibrational technology. It is the necessary pause that allows the sound of the soul to be heard. It is the space where the universe reorganizes the energy of the request into the form of response. And perhaps that is why, in ancient traditions, silence has always been considered prayer. Because it is within silence that the human being stops seeking abundance outside and begins to feel it arise from within. There is a quiet magic in the words we use every day. It's not only the great affirmations or conscious speeches that shape reality, but the small, unnoticed phrases spoken in passing. All is well. I trust. Everything flows. These simple expressions carry vibrations that educate the body, reorganize the field, and reprogram the subconscious. Bruce Lipton teaches that conscious repetition is one of the most direct ways to rewrite neural connections and influence genetic expression. Each time a phrase of harmony is spoken with presence, the cells listen and respond. They record the vibrational sound as biological instruction. When used with intention, the word becomes alchemy. It transforms energy into form, emotion into matter, thought into tangible vibration. Joe Dispenza explains that the combination of thought, emotion, and word creates a unique electromagnetic signature, the code of personal reality. When that signature remains stable, the field around you reorganizes to reflect the new coherence. What was once an idea begins to acquire density, and the body starts vibrating in alignment with the frequency of what is being affirmed. The conscious word ceases to be language and becomes a technology of manifestation. Yet the true power of the word lies in its constancy. It's not what is said once with excitement, but what is repeated with silent faith. Daily phrases are brushstrokes upon the quantum field. Each one paints a color, a texture, a direction. Bruce Lipton affirms that cells respond to vibrational consistency, not to sporadic intensity. Coherence is what creates new biology. That is why saying everything flows every day with serenity holds more power than proclaiming grand affirmations without feeling. The body learns through vibrational repetition, and, with time, begins to live what it hears. The spiritual practice of daily words is, therefore, an act of vibrational art. The phrases become pigments, and consciousness, the brush, When you speak with intention, the word expands in waves that transcend sound and touch the unseen field around you. Joe Dispenza calls this emotional entanglement, the intertwining between what you feel and what the universe reflects back. A word spoken in love creates threads of light. A word spoken in fear creates echoes of resistance. Every syllable is a vibrational decree. The alchemy of words lies not in speaking beautifully, but in speaking truthfully. It is energetic sincerity that gives creation its strength. The conscious word is the bridge between the invisible and the visible. Bruce Lipton and Joe Dispenza converge in affirming that the body is the translation field of the soul. Everything spoken with emotion and presence passes through it and becomes physical reality. Thus, transforming every phrase into a vibration of creation becomes an active form of prayer. The word is the brush with which you paint the quantum field, and with each consciously chosen word, a new reality begins to emerge. True abundance doesn't begin with the money that arrives, but with the energy you emit. Bruce Lipton teaches that belief and emotion form a biological command. Every felt thought is a message the body translates into response. Joe Dispenza adds that coherence and presence are the keys to manifestation. When mind and heart vibrate in harmony, the electromagnetic field reorganizes to reflect this new frequency. Abundance, therefore, is not a destination to reach, but a vibrational state to embody. For a long time, we were taught that creating prosperity depended on effort, control, and willpower. But the field does not respond to force. It responds to coherence. Inner struggle only reinforces the energetic noise of scarcity. When there is coherence, there is flow. When there is presence, there is expansion. And the universe, literal and precise, returns what you truly vibrate, not what you merely wish. Bruce Lipton explains that DNA acts as a biological antenna, capturing emotional frequencies and turning them into cellular expression. Each sustained emotion is a code, and that code determines what the body creates and what the field manifests. Joe Dispenza describes that, at the moment you become aware of the energy of your words, the field around you recalibrates. The mind ceases to be a repeater of old programs and becomes a transmitter of new possibilities. Coherence is the point at which biology becomes embodied spirituality. When you speak with intention, feel with truth, and remain present in your vibration, the universe recognizes the command and responds in form. Reality is the echo of the frequencies you sustain with consistency. To rewrite the code of your frequency is to understand that every phrase spoken is an act of vibrational creation or destruction. Words build energetic pathways that the universe follows unquestioningly. The universe does not interpret irony, nor human metaphor. It responds to the pure vibration of what is emitted. When you say, "I can't," the universe answers, "So be it." When you say, "Everything flows," it answers the same. It is simple, literal, both scientific and spiritual. Silence at this point becomes the purest form of creation. Because when the word falls silent, vibration speaks. Silence is the neutral field where all manifestation begins. It is there that the mind gives way to the heart, and the heart aligns with the rhythm of the whole. Bruce Lipton and Joe Dispenza converge on this understanding. The human being creates when in coherence, and coherence arises from presence. Abundance is not a goal. It is a frequency already existing, waiting for your alignment. To rewrite the code is to remember that the word is living energy, and energy is the language through which the universe communicates. The moment you become aware of the power of your words, the field responds. And when the field responds, life transforms. The sound you emit today is the reality you will live tomorrow. Silence, then, may be the most prosperous prayer you have ever made. For in silence there is no resistance, no fear, no doubt, only pure vibration aligned with the source. And it is in that vibration that the universe whispers back, "So it is." If this message resonated with you, allow this energy to keep expanding. Subscribe to this channel and become part of this vibrational community. Each new video is a field of reconnection, a space of healing and remembrance. Your presence here is not coincidence, it is response. And when you subscribe, you activate within yourself the intention to remain aligned with the frequency of abundance.